What was it that drew you into Bitcoin? I know you said you came from the finance and accounting world, but some people come across Bitcoin. In fact, I'd say most people who have heard about it don't do much investigation or show all that much interest. They kind of hear it and move on. What was it that pulled you into it?
Yeah, it's a great question. These things only sort of come to you in hindsight. I feel like I was playing a video game when I was like 10, 11, 12 years old called Diablo 2.
Okay.
It was a massive multiplayer online strategy game, basically. So it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons on a computer game. And you're playing with millions of people all over the world. Maybe not millions, I don't know, hundreds of thousands. And, you know, you're running your little character through this dungeon or this space, and you're killing monsters, demons, etc., and you're trying to find better and better equipment. And people would also kind of duel with each other and all of that. Outside of the game, so that's like the video game itself that you're playing, but outside of the game, you're connecting with people online. People were trading items, basically. So there was an economy developing that was sort of orthogonal to the game. You're trading to get better items to play the game, but there's this whole other game over here, like basically markets. And so here I was as a little kid, just basically learning through instinct, buy low, sell high, right? And just kind of repeat the process. I'm learning to type really fast because the faster you can type, the quicker you can spam your advertisements, and more trades you can do, and the more money you can make money, quote, air quotes money, right? Because you're not actually making money. You're just, you're accumulating more in-game wealth. But one of the phenomenons that I noticed in this game was there was the emergence, there was a currency in the game. They had gold, but the gold was basically useless. It was like, it wasn't scarce enough, so it didn't have value for trade. This item called a Stone of Jordan ring emerged naturally as like a currency. Like the players chose it as a currency. So people started denominating prices. They're selling or trading a shield or a sword or whatever. They would price it in SOJs, which is Stone of Jordan. They'd say, this is 36 SOJs, this is 15, et cetera. And so, I'm obviously like absorbed into that process. I'm buying and selling and calculating in terms of this emergent currency. And later, eBay was starting to get hot about the same time. People started selling their in-game wealth for what I thought at the time was real money, which were US dollars. So I had gone through this whole process of like accumulating in-game wealth, and then saw it somehow become real wealth or real money. And that just left a mark on me. I didn't know, this is all me in retrospect, evaluating this. But it left a mark on me subconsciously. It was like something about this video game, digital world, and the real world are coming together in a very interesting way. Because I played a video game that now people are spending real money to accumulate the items for. So I did that. I went to college, studied finance and accounting. It was probably when I was the age of, I think, 20. I was reading these sort of esoteric economic newsletters. One of them recommended, and again, it was like trying to satisfy my curiosity. I didn't really understand how a stock market worked. I didn't understand how money worked. I saw people like spending most of their lives talking about these things and working for money, and there's this big complex web of commercial activity going on in the world. But when I see CNBC and they're talking about stock prices and derivatives, and I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So I'm like trying to learn what this is. And The Economist magazine was something I was reading, was also reading these economics newsletters. And at some point, I don't know who it was, one of the authors of those newsletters recommended the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is the book by G. Edward Griffin about the inception of the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of the United States. And it's also about the nature and history of money more broadly and the history of central banking more broadly. I highly recommend the book. It's written like a literary detective novel or something, but it's all true, right? It's talking about how the Fed was conceived and how it's a very large criminal enterprise, perhaps the largest criminal enterprise in the world. And so that left a mark on me. I was like, okay, this thing called central banking is really bad. Like it's, used to fund warfare. There's a lot of funding for propaganda, psyops, fake news, all that stuff, like kind of comes from this scam machine, basically, is what I felt like. I was like, this thing. And what was really breaking my brain was like the dollar that I'd seen, what do the Wu-Tang Clan say? Cash rules everything around me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'd spent my whole life watching people chase these dollars around. And then you read the book, Creature from Jekyll Island, and like, wait a minute, that thing is a scam.
Mm.
So it was like, it left a real mark on me. I bought people an abridged version of the book called Dishonest Money by Joseph Plummer, because the Creature from Jekyll Island is like 600 something pages. It's a slog. This book was like an 80-page condensed version of that. And I gave this book to people, like friends and family, for Christmas, trying to wake people up and get some movement. Some people read it and they're like, okay, great. What do we do about it?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know. I was just thinking we'd all, put some sunlight on it and then we'll go solve the problem. But yeah, there was kind of a bleak realization that this giant scam machine lived at the heart of every modern economy, and there wasn't really anything humanity could do about it. So I just kind of put that on an intellectual shelf, got my undergraduate master's degree in college, and then went on my own dollar chase, basically. And yeah, I've followed that career path for some years. I, somewhat like you, I really like to work for myself. Let's put it that way. I used to joke that I'm unemployable, but I don't want to say that. It's like I was in good positions, like a CFO positions and whatnot, but I kept choosing to do my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually that came to starting my own business. I moved to Los Angeles. I had one CFO consulting client, and that was me starting my own business. I didn't really know what in the hell I was going to do. I was like, maybe just CFO consulting, maybe I'll do something else. And I decided, I'm really glad that I did that I made that decision, because it gave me the cognitive bandwidth to start paying attention to what's going on in the world. And it was in that time where I was studying crypto, basically, I stumbled across the idea of smart contracts, which Nick Szabo had written about in like 1997, but I'm just discovering them in 2016, basically. And it was his essay that gave me this sort of, I would call it a light bulb moment, but in retrospect, well, I guess it is a light bulb moment. Smart contracts are really important, but they're not being done by crypto. It's like stuff that will be built on Bitcoin at some point. The archetypal example of a smart contract is like a vending machine.
Okay.
It automates commercial relationships between buyers and sellers. So, you set up a vending machine, you put candy bars or whatever, let's say bottled water, something more healthy. You put bottled water in there and you say, the vending machine is programmed such that if customer inserts 75 cents and presses D4, then release bottle of water, right? It's like if-then statements encoded into the machine. Well, basically smart contracts are that in software. So you can automate commercial relationships via software. And so my light bulb moment was the entire finance industry, global finance, is just a smart contract facilitated by human beings. Mm-hmm. And so my big idea at the time was like, oh, this software is going to eat and, displace a lot of that kind of white collar work that we're accustomed to today. So then I was like, okay, I'm going all in on this crypto thing. I want to learn as much as possible, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I started diligencing the assets, studying them. And then I was coming to that conclusion again and again. Oh, wait, this is not decentralized. This is not decentralized. And it was really the final point for me was reading the book, The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Ammous.
Okay. I was just with him a few weeks ago in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. Amazing. He's a great guy. Probably, definitely one of the most important Bitcoin proponents there's ever been. He's up there with the best. And I was lucky to read his book the weekend it came out. Like I was actively going down this rabbit hole, and then this book is published called The Bitcoin Standard, and I'm just devouring things. So I ordered it the weekend it came out, April 2018, and I read it in 2 days. And then I was like, oh, then it connected me back to the Creature from Jekyll Island. And I was like, oh shit, Bitcoin is the solution to that problem that I was looking at this point 10 plus years ago. And that's when it crystallized for me. It's like, oh man, Bitcoin is this disruption to gold. And gold is the thing that central banks have monopolized basically to control people over the centuries.
Yes.
And so bada bing, bada boom, start talking about it, tweeting about it, writing about it. And I'm now, considered to be the Bitcoin guy by most people in my life.
This episode is brought to you by Sambrosa, the best way to get your 8 hours of rest. If, like me, you sometimes struggle with nighttime restlessness and allergies, then Sambrosa Night Syrup could be a game changer for you. Sambrosa contains a natural base of 7 organic herbs, honey, and a small amount of antihistamine. It's effective and soothing with no harsh chemicals, no high fructose corn syrup, and no artificial flavors or dyes. I've been using Sambrosa for several months now, and I can personally vouch for its effectiveness when it comes to improving my quality of rest at night. I also love the fact that they're a family-owned company who share my values of faith, freedom, and integrity. My listeners can try Sambrosa today and get 10% off by going to sambrosa.com/Zuby10. That's SAMBROSA.com/Zuby10 for 10% off your order. Try Sambrosa today and wake up ready to embrace life's opportunities. Go to sambrosa.com/Zuby10 and try it out.